back to Keeping It Real. I'm Krysta Gibson, your host, and I'm also the publisher of newspiritjournal.com. Well, this is being recorded in pretty much early March 2018, and there are a lot of really interesting things going on in the world from day to day. Some of us just shake our heads and wonder what is going on. And one of the common threads right now, I think, among a lot of people is fear and worry and doubt that everything is going to be okay. My guest today is an author, and he has just come out with a book called Fear Less. So I want to tell you a little bit about him before we meet him. His name is Dean Sluyter. And now he's taught natural methods of meditation and awakening through the U.S. and really across the planet since 1970. And he's taught in colleges and yoga studios, corporate offices, and even maximum security prisons. And he's known for his warm, funny, down-to-earth style. His books are a delight to read because of that he's very down-to-earth. And he makes authentic, life-transforming teachings accessible and easy. And he's a grateful student of sages in several traditions, completing retreats and pilgrimages in India, Tibet, Nepal, and the West. Now, one of his books called Natural Meditation, which I've reviewed at newspiritjournal.com, won the Nautilus Award for Best Book on Body, Mind, and Spirit Practices. And he appears frequently in national media, including the New York Times, National Public Radio, Coast to Coast AM, and the Oprah Magazine. What is interesting, too, is when Dean's not writing and teaching, apparently he plays the ukulele and rides his Vespa through the streets of Santa Monica. So if you're in Santa Monica and you see a guy on a Vespa, maybe it'll be Dean. Who knows? So we're going to visit with Dean, and I'm going to ask him to talk a bit about fear and what are some ways that wherever your fear is coming from, whether it's due to personal circumstances or the world at large, what are some practical ways that you can deal with it and find a way to navigate it just a little more successfully. So come with me now as we meet Dean Sluyter. Well, hi, Dean. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Good, good. Welcome to Keeping It Real, the place where we ground our spirituality in the practical. And that's what you're all about. I just love your books. Thank you, thank you. And your most recent book, of course, Fearless, is fabulous. Now, one of the things in that book that you talk about that I would love to explore with you for our viewers is you talk about what you experienced after our last election of our president, Donald Trump.
Right.
And I believe what you went through is what certainly I went through and my viewers went through. Well, it's been a while, and lots of people are living with great fear and worry and concern. This is your area of expertise. Let's talk about it. How can we deal with the feelings that we have and our fears?
Right, absolutely. First, let me just point out that the title of the book is not Fearless, because I don't know anyone who's fearless.
Right.
Certainly I'm not. It's fearless.
Yes.
Okay? And it turns out, fortunately, that if we can at least fear less, things start to ease up. It's as if our fears, our anxieties, our rages, our addictive cravings, it's like, great big scary monsters like big blown up balloons in the Macy's Day Parade. And if we can just find ways to start putting little pinholes in them, start letting the air out of them, they don't have to go away, but they start to deflate. And after a while, they're just like, cute little, bathtub toys or something bouncing around our ankles. So, as a matter of fact, the chapter that I wrote about that, which is titled November 9th, 2016, which was the day after the election. And I wrote that thing, I was red hot when I wrote it.
I'll bet.
And afterward I said to my wife, I don't think I can include this in the book because my whole life as a meditation teacher, which I've been doing since 1970, I've always very deliberately stayed away from politics.
Right. Yes.
I said, I can't put this in the book, but I can't leave it out. So I just sent it off. I said, well, the editor will probably take it out, and they didn't. So there it is. And you're right, a lot of people very strongly connect with this because You know, the subtitle of the book is Living Beyond Fear, Anxiety, Anger, and Addiction. And what I found happened on the night of November 8th was that there was my fear, my anxiety, my anger, not addiction. Well, maybe I probably ate a few more cookies than usual. It brought it all out. It really made me look at those things in myself and how to deal with them. It made the book not abstract.
Right. Yes.
And you're right. I've continued to, whatever your politics are,
right.
You know, it's been a bit of a white knuckle ride for everyone. Mm-hmm. And I think the thing that I have found to be extremely useful is to keep asking myself the question, would it help? You know, and that's actually the title of another chapter.
Yes.
It comes from the wonderful Steven Spielberg film Bridge of Spies, the true story of the Soviet spy Rudolf Abel, who was captured in New York during the Cold War, and he's put on trial for his life. And fortunately, his lawyer is Tom Hanks. And in their first meeting, Tom Hanks says, you know, the Americans and the Russians both want to see you go to the electric chair. And wonderful, Mark Rylance says, as Rudolf Abel says, all right. And the lawyer says, you don't seem worried. And he says, kind of shrugs, he says, would it help?
Right.
So that is really the key question. Does it help to obsess? Does it help to read every news story? Does it help to go on Facebook rants when you know that there are two kinds of people who are going to respond to your Facebook rants? The people who already agree with you, you're not going to change them, and the people who disagree with you, you're not going to change them.
That's right.
Right? And you can get yourself completely, you know, I grew up in a very political household. And I can remember my parents shouting at the TV screen, God damn Richard Nixon! and I used to wonder, do they know that Nixon can't hear them through the TV?
Oh, that he could.
Yes, if only. So that doesn't help.
Right.
Okay? And in fact, that can become a substitute for taking real effective action. And, you know, there's a kind of stereotype that people often indulge in that, oh, you're a meditation teacher. You teach people to just, you know, that's the opium of the people. You just, you know, tranquilize yourself and hide your head in the sand and become apathetic.
Right.
And that's really not the case.
No.
And that's why I love the theme of your show, keeping it real. You know, this is where the rubber meets the road.
Right.
You know, the great classic of meditation and action in the Indian tradition is the Bhagavad Gita, where the teachings of meditation are given not to a monk sitting in a cave, they're given to a warrior on the battlefield just before the battle starts.
Right.
Because these meditative skills, and I like to use this phrase these days, meditative skills, because I do talk in the book about meditation, sitting with your eyes closed for a few minutes every day, which is very valuable, but also meditative skills where you can bring it out into the thick of things. And through practicing meditation and these meditative skills, we become more strongly anchored in the inner silence, in the place of you know, what Jesus called the kingdom of heaven within, what the Buddha called nirvana, what I like to call infinite okayness. All right? And then, so A, we get more strongly anchored in there, and then B, as we engage in activity while anchored in that, we don't get blown around.
Right.
We don't get overwhelmed, and that makes us more effective in action. You know, if you think of the most effective social activists, Dr. King, Nelson Mandela, Mahatma Gandhi, you don't think of people who are stressed out.
Right. You don't?
You can sense, you can taste it. They're all coming from a place of inner silence. And that's where we get clarity, we get judgment, judgment in the best sense, discrimination, what is going to be effective, what will help, what will not help.
Exactly. Exactly. And one of the things that I love about the book and I've reviewed your prior book, the Natural Meditation book, is that you make it, I hesitate at the word easy, But
No,
you do.
I love easy.
You make it easy. You know,
Yeah.
too often, and I try to help people understand this, meditation doesn't mean necessarily sitting in that special pose and doing all these things. Those things are great. They're wonderful. I use some of them. But that's not the whole point. It's that ease, allowing it to be easy. And we
Right.
really fight that, don't we? We fight easy.
Well, yeah, you're absolutely right, because we are in the habit of doing tasks.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to do tasks, and that's
Right.
fine. The other 23 and a half hours of the day we're doing tasks.
Right.
But then, because it's such an ingrained habit, when we sit down to meditate, we tend to make that another task. Well, what does this task consist of? What are the skills I need to learn? What are the milestones that will tell me I'm accomplishing this task
Right.
in a skillful way? Well, if I experience, purple shooting out of my crown chakra, or, all this stuff, which is completely beside the point.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happens is, people wind up making effort to try to make the mind settle down. Now, that's a contradiction in terms. Trying to make the mind settle down, that trying is itself an unsettled situation. Mm-hmm. So in the book, the section on meditation is titled Settling Happens. Settling happens. And what I do in my workshops and in my meditation sessions, and by the way, if people go to my website, there's a whole page of streaming guided meditation audio tracks, which are free. Anyone can stream those for free to really get this experientially, step by step. And what I do is I just very simply show people how, if you just turn the attention within a little bit, rather than trying to push, you can allow yourself to be pulled. You can you just throw away, all your ideas of how this is going to be a task and how to accomplish it with this. You throw all that into the fire. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then you sit there and enjoy the fire.
Right. It's wonderful. Now, one of the techniques, I don't like using the word techniques, but okay, that's what it is. Early in the book, one of the first things you talk about that I would love for you to share with our viewers is breathing through your feet.
Yes, breathing through your feet. And again, I love it because it's easy and it's simple.
Right.
So first, let me throw a phrase out here, which is imagine, feel. Kind of a hybrid between imagining and feeling. Like if I say, imagine, feel your left elbow, instantly, right away, there's nothing you have to do. You can feel you kind of imagine the situation of your left elbow. Okay? That becomes an experience. Now, as we sit here breathing normally, just imagine, feel that as you breathe in, you're breathing in through the soles of your feet. And then as you breathe out, you're breathing out through the soles of your feet. That's it. That's simple. Breathing in through the soles, breathing out through the soles. Now, it's ridiculously simple, but do a little practice with that. If people who are interested in what I recommend here, you do a little practice with that. I always say it's good to do the fire drill before the fire.
Yes.
Right. So you're not going, okay, what am I supposed to do here? So do a little bit of that, where while you're just sitting around, maybe right now as you're listening to this, and then next time you're in a situation, you're in traffic and someone cuts you off and you're just about to do something some foolish road rage thing, you're about to get caught up. Don't try to suppress that emotion.
Right.
Suppressing doesn't work. Suppressing makes things worse. Trying to suppress makes things worse. Don't be caught up. Don't indulge in that emotion, but breathe through your feet. That's simple. And you're so caught up in your head. Oh, I'm trying to fall asleep, and I'm so caught up in my head. I'm thinking about this, thinking about that. Breathe through your feet. And then, if the thoughts are still there, they're still there. But now you can't be totally caught up in them, because part of your attention is in breathing through your feet.
I know, and I love that one. It's really very, very powerful. It really
is. It is.
So you've studied with different people, and you've gone to different countries and so on. And I guess one of my, just to put it in a nutshell, is how'd you get so smart? How'd you get so wise? I read this book, and it's like there's all these wonderful stories, and I love the idea of becoming the dog
Oh, yes, yes, the sweetest dog in the world.
Right,
Right.
unless you
You're
happen to like
gently
cats.
close your eyes. Because, if you have one of those sweet dogs, they're the best listeners in the
Right,
world. They just look at you with those eyes of perfect love, and you can tell them everything. They don't judge. They don't disagree. They don't agree
right,
because, you may be full of BS.
right,
They just take the whole story in and just absorb it into their sweet doggy heart and evaporate it out into space. And
right.
it's great. So yeah, we have a whole meditation based on that, and then there's a further part of it where you become the dog.
Right, and
Listen
that's the
to
part I really
yourself.
enjoyed.
Yeah,
Then you become the dog, and it's like, what an interesting thing to do if you're with somebody. Let's say you're at work or something, and you're around somebody who's complaining or whining or whatever, and you really can't do anything
right.
to change it, but you can be the dog
That's right. That's
and
right.
just
Because you and it can be someone at work complaining, or even someone that we love who's going
right.
through a hard time, who
Yes.
has had dealing with grief
Yeah.
or crisis, and usually in that situation we find ourselves trying to find wise words to say to them, trying to find something to say that will help. When often what helps the most is they're not looking for us to say anything.
Right.
They just need someone to really hear them.
Right.
And if you do that, sitting there listening in that way, being the therapy dog, being the sweetest dog in the world, just absorbing it through your eyes, letting it go into your heart and letting it melt into space, you'll find that without your having to say anything, they'll start feeling more eased up. And when you do need words, the right words will be there. They'll come to you when you don't try to think about them.
Yeah, and I love it because so often when somebody is having difficulties, our natural inclination is to want to try to fix it for them,
Right.
and give them answers, give them suggestions. Well, when I went through that, blah, 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 or my friend, and it's like, that really isn't helpful. They just
Right.
need to be received and in love. And I just love that
Yep.
that image of being the therapy dog for them is so awesome.
Yeah. One of the things that I talk about in the book, as you may know, is the death of my first wife when she died of cancer. And obviously that was a great, heartbreak for me, but it was also one of the greatest teachings of my life. You asked before how I became, to whatever degree I may be wise.
Right.
That's been a big part of it.
Right.
And one of the things that I found, and that Maggie found, when she first started mentioned to the first one or two people that she had cancer, everyone wanted to tell, oh yeah, well my aunt had that kind of cancer, and blah, blah, and she just didn't want to hear it, so she stopped telling people.
Right. Right. Of course. Yeah,
Yeah.
because you don't. Because everybody wants to jump in and fix it. And they mean
Yeah.
well, but it doesn't help.
They do.
It doesn't help.
Yeah.
So I
And
wanted
again,
to
there's that question: would it help?
exactly. Oh, there's so many good things like that. I mean, I can't recommend enough. Anybody watching this, get the book. Bottom line, just go do it. Will it help? Yes. But I do have to ask you a question. My spouse Rhonda plays the ukulele.
Ah,
And I saw that you play the ukulele.
Yes.
And I play the auto harp, not well, but I enjoy it. And we go to a little group of 13 people, and we don't do it well, but there's ukuleles and auto harps, and we sing songs.
Great.
And so I
Can
just
I
wanted
come?
to ask you, has something like playing the ukulele, how much does that help and support you in making these kinds of practices real in your life? I mean, it's a simple thing, playing the ukulele. It seems kind of silly, but
no, it's fantastic. I've been, I come from a musical family. Actually, I have several generations going back to a great grandfather who led a klezmer band in Russia, and I'm actually the least talented member of my family. But I was on the road because I travel around. I do meditation workshops all over the country. And I was in Austin, Texas a couple of years ago, and I never played anything with strings, and a friend had an extra ukulele. He said, here, take this. And I completely fell in love with it. And it's small enough I can put it in my backpack and travel with it,
Right.
take it in my carry-on.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take, you can learn the magic three chord, C,
Right.
F, and G7 in about 5 minutes, and then you can play
And
about
you're good.
10,000 songs. But the other thing is that I love to sing. And that I really, really recommend. There's a lot of things that we can do with our voice that are extreme. one of my very favorite little techniques that's in the book is singing descending fifths. Okay, which can sound like fancy musical talk, but very simple. Think of the opening of the Star Spangled Banner. Oh, say, right? Ah, and you smooth that out into a glissando, so it's a smooth glide. Ah, okay, that's a descending fifth. And if you don't like the Star Spangled Banner, you can say Flintstones, meet the Flintstones. Ah. Now, the descending fifth is the sound of resolution. It's the sound of, it's found in the music of every country, every culture, and every era. It's the only thing, it's the most constant interval because it's very closely connected with the workings of our consciousness. And that's why in church they sing, Amen. That's a descending fifth. So it's like, the end, question, answer, tension, resolution. So I do those in the shower every morning. It's also very good for your voice. If you do it so you land on a, like the lowest note, you can sing at full volume. And it makes your voice strong. And that helps you come across in a fearless way when you're dealing with using your voice, speaking, public speaking. You're getting up to the microphone, getting up to the lectern, getting up in front of the classroom or the boardroom. You have to give that talk. You're nervous. You can breathe through your feet. You can do a descending fifth. If it's not cool to do it out loud, do it mentally.
Exactly. Thank you so much. You're full of so much wonderful wisdom. I love it. So you're going to be in the Pacific Northwest at the end of March.
Yes. On March, excuse me, I'm losing my earphones today.
Uh-oh.
Okay. Let me double check the date. Yes. Friday, March 30th, I'm going to be at New Renaissance Bookshop in Portland, Oregon, from 7 to 8:30. We'll be doing a workshop with some of these fearless techniques, and I'll also be reading from the book and signing books.
Perfect.
So New Renaissance Bookshop, Portland, Oregon, Friday, March 30th. And by the way, that and all my workshops and appearances around the country are all posted on my website, which is fearlessbook.net.
Great. I was just going to ask you for that because I know that you have that online. So fearlessbook.net.
Yes.
And I put it up here on the screen so people can write it down. Well, thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate it so much. You truly embody this show, which is Keep It Real. I love that. Thank you, and best to you and your future work.
Thank you so much.
Well, doesn't Dean really epitomize what we offer here, which is keeping it real? I just love some of the exercises and ideas that he shared, and I encourage you to give them a try. I love breathing through my feet. I hadn't heard that one until I read it in his book. There's lots of other ones I've heard, but I hadn't heard of that one. So that's great, and I'm going to start singing the fifths in the shower. So, well, that doesn't sound right, the fifths. I didn't say drink them, I said sing them. Okay. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this show, and come back and visit us again. And if you're in the area where you can go see Dean at the end of March in Portland, I would suggest you do that, and grab a copy of the book. The chapters are short, they're tight, they're useful, they're practical, they're everything that you'd want to do to make your life just a little bit better. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you again. And remember, in the meantime, keep it real.